The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go, Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. It is our season preview edition. Ryan, real simple. We're going to give our take on what we think is going to happen with the Leafs this year, a little season preview on the Leafs specifically. Then we're going to go from division to division, and we're just going to predict who we think is going to win each division. We don't need to do a deep dive into the Metropolitan. We don't need to do a deep dive into the Pacific. We're just going to tell you what we think. I guess I should include the Central in there too and not leave the Central out.
Yeah, don't leave the Central out.
No, the Central
teams in there.
It's true. The Central is no joke.
No.
All right, let's get to it. What are we thinking this year for the Leafs season? I said in our last episode, I think they are fully capable of winning the division, and I still feel that way. And for me, going into it, I think that should be the goal. Because I know the cynic in us as Leaf fans, it doesn't matter who they play in the first round. They're always going to let their opponent make it interesting, and they're always going to have a moment where we're ripping our hair out. However, if you win the division and you get to play a wild card team and finally avoid one of the other three behemoths in your division, hopefully, I think that's something you got to try and shoot for.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, are they capable of it? Yes. But also heading into last season, we were on this podcast saying, this team needs to win a division. And even though they're a great regular season team and we know every year they're going to make the playoffs, they've never won this division. And honestly, I don't see them winning this division. I really don't. I think the fresh coat of paint is nice. I think every guy can take a step in terms of maturity. Like Auston Matthews is a year older, Marner, Nylander. They've updated their core. Their goaltending has decent upside, but I don't see them leapfrogging Boston or Florida in the standings, or even Tampa Bay for that matter. You never know what they're going to do. So I think my prediction for the Leafs, I think they're going to nestle right in where they always do, in that second or third spot. And we're going to be playing Florida, Tampa, or Boston in the first round of this year's postseason.
I mean, I guess we're starting with the Atlantic, but we talked about it last week about the sort of bottom half of the division and who's going to take a step. I don't think any of them are going to take a step because I don't think any of them are good enough to supplant the top four teams in this division. So I don't know. Like, the Bruins get Swayman done early Sunday morning, so like they're back in business. Also, all this talk about how, like, well, if they don't get Swayman done, like if there's a team that I think can compete for a division with Jonas Korpisalo in net, it's the Boston Bruins.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the Boston Bruins. So I wasn't buying too much into that. But I want to stick with the Leafs before we look around the rest of the division. From a player perspective, we talked about it last week. We could do a deep dive here and talk about how many goals is Auston Matthews going to get. And it's like,
I do have a hot take about that.
Okay. All right.
You want me to lay it down right now?
Yeah, lay it down. Let's hear it.
Auston Matthews will never score 69 goals or more for the rest of his career.
I'm going to tack on to that. I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
I would rather Auston Matthews get 50, 55 goals and be a way better 200-foot hockey player. Look at McDavid last year. McDavid's point totals were down last year. He took his team to the Stanley Cup final.
I love how his point totals were down, but they were still like out of this world.
Yes,
like,
but that was the point.
How much better that guy is than everybody else.
I don't think Matthews scoring less this year is a bad thing. I think it's just he's ascending into the leadership role with the C on his jersey. I think his 200-foot game has to be better. His leadership has to be better. It's going to be, not that it's bad. It's just, my point is, he's ascending into the next level. This is his team now, officially. He has got the letter on his chest.
Yeah.
So, if we got to sacrifice...
I didn't necessarily mean that in like a negative way. I just meant, like, I'm watching TSN last night and the panel's debating a quiz question where it's Auston Matthews, is he going to score more than 69 goals? it's not like scoring 69 goals is almost impossible in this league, in this era. I was listening to all that chatter, and it's like, I just don't think this guy is going to score that many or more than that for the rest of his career.
Yeah. If he's got to sacrifice 10, 15 goals, so be it. I'm totally okay with it.
He rips home 50 for the rest of his career. The guy's the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game. So
I wanted to, like I said, we can talk about the core four all day long. To me, it's not that interesting. We know what these guys are going to do. If they stay healthy, they're going to get their points. They're going to get their goals. They're going to be in the top point producing players in the league. That's going to happen. I'm more interested in talking about a guy like Matthew Knies heading into this season and like you look at the Saturday night game, there was a shot of him coming on the bench and Berube going over and talking to him. This organization is very aware of how important Matthew Knies is. And there's been some discussion. We got out in front of this, by the way. You and I were talking last week about they need to re-sign this guy. And then all the $590 and $1050 this week, it was all they need to re-sign Knies. And I was like, you need to listen to the Talking Buds Leaf show because we've been on this already. In your opinion, what's a great year for Matthew Knies?
Oh, I've really mulled this over, especially, you're right. We did get in front of it and I was listening to that chatter all week, and it's such a hard question to answer. I think in an ideal world, if you look at it realistically, Matthew Knies, his peak to me is he's a 50-point player with 20 goals, 30 assists, or flip it around. Like, to me, I heard numbers thrown out like 65, 70. No. I don't think he's that hockey player. I really don't. I think if Matthew Knies settled in at a 50-point player who can score you 20 goals on that top line, I think that is all you can ask for this guy. All you can ask for. And here's what I say about him is I hear people debating numbers of what you would pay him. If you look at that starting lineup, and someone posts it on like Mark Masters posts it on Twitter, and you look at like the height and weight of each player, Matthew Knies is weighing in heavier at Ryan Reeves right now. If regardless if he gets 40 points, 50 points, 60 points, you are going to be looking for a power forward winger who is 6'3" and 225 pounds for the next 10 years. If you don't sign this guy and make him a priority for your hockey team. He's only 21 years old, and he's only going to get more comfortable getting in guys' faces, forechecking. And when Berube came and talked to him, it was a pat on the back going, nice forecheck, way to draw a penalty because you're an animal.
It was just really telling to me that like he went and took him under his wing, and he's like, Berube is aware how important this guy is. I'm glad you're hitting on that point there, because for me, I'm going to be honest. Obviously, you want him to get his points. Points are important. Producing is important, especially when you're playing on a top line in the National Hockey League. However, I'm not worried about how many Genos Matt Knies gets this year. I'm worried about Matt Knies going in the corner, running somebody over, getting the puck back, and passing it to 16 or 34 or whoever he's playing with. Yeah. That is where his value comes in. Being a force on the top line. That is all I care to see. He could be left off the score sheet, but if I see him out there shift after shift, taking the body, being a physical presence, I don't care if he's not on the score sheet, quite frankly. Yeah. I think I'd still pay him.
I think he's playing on if he's playing on the top line, if he ends the year with 10 goals. Like that's not great, to be honest with you. But I'm looking at this guy. He's 21 years old. He's a monster. They've been looking for a winger like this for as long as I've been alive, who has the ability to score 20 goals, because I think he does. I know he's not a point producer in college, and he didn't really set the house on fire last year, but he's 21 years old. He's an absolute monster. I think it'd be a massive mistake not to prioritize this guy as not a core piece, but a guy who's outside the core for the next 10 years.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here. What's a good season for Max Pacioretty? At the time of this recording, we know that he's going to sign a 1-year deal. We don't know how much money it's going to be for. Presumably not very much. Like, they're not going to sign this guy to a big money deal. So, in your mind, what's a good year for Max Pacioretty?
I don't know, man. This is a really tough question. It really is. It's just, I think him and Robertson are the two guys who are going to have to kind of interchange on that third line spot. So it's a really
20
hard
goals.
question. Yeah,
20, 15, 20 goals.
Play that much? Like, is he penciled in? Like, I know he looked good in game 1 of the preseason, but is he going to hold up? Is his skating ability going to be good enough? Like, it's to me, predicting 20 goals for him, if I don't know if he's going to be in the lineup every night or how it's going to go, is extremely difficult. Ideally, you would like to see him go back to Montreal Canadiens, Max Pacioretty, and also just having another like veteran guy in the room who knows what it's like to pot 35 a year and used to be a pretty elite dude who also used to be a captain of an original 6 franchise. So I think that's very important, but I don't know, man. Just ideally he's in the lineup. He's doing the right things without the puck, as everybody likes to talk about, and he still has the ability to rip home a one-timer. You can slot him in on that second power play. He knows how to operate in those situations, but I don't know. Predicting a heavy goal total for him is extremely challenging for me. I don't know. I think it's just a nice guy to have in your lineup who you can plug in, who used to be elite, and you know you're going to get NHL play out of him.
You look to Max Pacioretty to score you a big goal when you need it, which is something this team has struggled with at times in the past. He's still got the hands. From what I've seen in the preseason, the skating's okay. Like, he's no worse of a skater than John Tavares is.
North-South, he's okay, but I think East-West, even though this team wants to play North-South game, when you're in the O-zone, sometimes you got to move laterally, and I did see a little bit of a weakness in that side of his game from what I saw.
Is he any worse than Tavares, though?
Yeah.
Like, is John Tavares a better skater than...
In terms of like
Max
speed,
Pacioretty?
probably no, but I think Tavares is a little more coordinated when it's like below the goal line and holding on to the puck. And John Tavares also wins 60% of his faceoffs, and you saw it in the last preseason game when he gets a chance to rip home a wrist shot. He can still do it. So I don't know if I feel comfortable like comparing those two guys, because I think Tavares just does more, and I think he's just a little bit better like below the goal line, holding on to the puck. And yeah, I'd speed wise, they're probably the same, but I don't feel comfortable comparing those two.
No, I'm looking at the roster and I'm trying to pull another name out here. It's like I want to, like, what's a good year for Chris Tanev? Not really, like, as a defenseman, you're not really concerned about point production, but this is the most legit defense partner Morgan Riley's ever had. And for me, a good year for Chris Tanev is staying healthy and allowing Morgan Riley to be able to jump up into the rush, because Riley's always been at his best when he's had a partner that can cover for him. Yeah. And like, you look at Luke Schenn a couple of years ago, and like Chris Tanev and Luke Schenn are in different stratospheres when it comes to being NHL defensemen. Yeah. And I think when like being put with Brody, he just couldn't do it anymore. TJ Brody just couldn't do it anymore. No. So I think with Chris Tanev, you want to stay healthy. You want to be, I don't know, how much ice time is Berube going to play these guys? Are both these guys going to be in the 20 plus minutes a night every night, you think?
Chris Tanev is going to get an absurd amount of ice time.
Yes.
And I've heard insiders talk about how he's traditionally not a guy who gets 25 to 30 minutes a night, even though 30's crazy. But, you know, like, he's going to be in that. He's going to be 22 to 25 minutes a night, and he's never really been that guy. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to like feed into the healthy conversation. But yeah, it's hard to, it's going to be the eye test. I mean, I don't really look at the numbers that these people are looking at when it comes to playing Timothy Liljegren in your defensive lineup. But what I see from Chris Tanev is a guy who can separate a man from the puck and move the puck up ice. It's almost like, if you don't know, is again, one of those guys, if you don't notice him, he's doing his job. Just make that, separate men from the puck below your goal line and make a first pass and get your team out of the zone. I also think he's an underrated skater too. Like, I actually think he's a pretty decent skater with the puck. So yeah, staying healthy and just not having all eyeballs on you making a stupid mistake in your own end. Just being that solid dude.
Here's one for you. The power play. No reason why this shouldn't be a top 10 power play in the National Hockey League.
Which it always is.
But Mark Savard, but you've still been frustrated with it. We've still had moments where, like, what was the streak they went on last year without a power play goal? Wasn't it? It was something ridiculous. I can't remember. Some massive number.
Sucks. I don't remember stuff like that, but
they got Mark Savard in here to try and fix it. Already, it looks to be clicking a little better, but again, preseason. Let's wait till the real stuff starts, and you're against other teams' best guys every night.
Yeah.
This should be a top 10 power play, and this power play should be in the conversation as the Oiler power play, where it's, if we take a penalty against this team, chances are extremely high the puck ends up in the back of our net.
That's our retaliation.
That's true. That's our response.
That will go. Okay, the power play. It can't really be measured until they get into the postseason and don't. Like, they have to score in the postseason. That's the most important thing for the power play. But in terms of regular season, let's try and create something that isn't just, let's skate our hardest to the team's blue line and just pass it back 50 feet for somebody who is moving forward and everyone else is flat-footed.
It appears as though,
please come up with something that's a little more creative than that.
It does appear as though they've dropped that.
We'll see.
Again, preseason, but it's the back pass seems to have gone away. I don't know. Again, let's wait and see. But I've been encouraged by what I've seen on both sides of the equation with special teams so far in the preseason. But it does feel like Mark Savard is like, okay, let's do away with this. Let's enter the zone. Let's try and get the puck to either 34 or 88 to shoot it. Mm-hmm. Johnny, go to the front of the net and bang in one if it comes your way. Like, it's not that hard, right?
Yeah. I think in the zone, I think they have to be more active in terms of moving guys around and opening up lanes, because in the past, I know Nylander and Matthews both have incredible shots in terms of one-timers and coming off their offside, but sometimes I feel like they're a little too stagnant in terms of a team knows exactly where they're going and guys aren't really moving around and being active. I want to see guys, I want to see them really, really move around and create shooting lanes, because sometimes I feel like they just get stuck in this. It's just like they know exactly what they're doing and it's easy to shut it down. So it's just creating different opportunities for different guys. Like, you could set up Johnny for a shot on the power play. The guy's incredible wrist shot. Mitch Marner, sometimes he comes around, he wheels around, and he tries to look for like a pass. Shoot the puck, man. You're an incredible hockey player. You have an incredible shot. I just want to see more creativity than just trying to line up the 1T every single time. Because even though Matthew scored 69 goals, he's not Ovi, he's not Stammer. Those two guys are the best of the best when it comes to lining up for a 1T. You need to be active and just be creative and use your speed to create shooting lanes on the power play.
100%. 100%. Penalty kill. We saw the great clip that Mike Johnson highlighted on Saturday night of Lane Lambert on the bench, really into the penalty kill. This is his baby. Lane Lambert, former head coach in the league. It's, again, if you could get a top 10, top 15 power play, penalty kill?
They had the one good year, not last year, but the year before, where their penalty kill was kind of in the middle of the league, and they were kind of in the top 15. But traditionally, for as long as I've been a Leaf fan, they've never had like a top penalty kill. So I don't know. It's just going to be, it's really hard to just judge the strategy of a penalty kill sometimes. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just guys have to be instinctual, be in the right places, know when
good sticks.
Yeah, good sticks. Know when to pursue.
Sticks in the lanes.
Yeah, know when to pursue, when not to pursue. When a defenseman has a chance to win a puck battle below the goal line, like having the speed to do that and then clearing it. The goaltender not giving up juicy rebounds.
Yep.
Like, like making sure they're a dartboard for the puck and make sure the puck sticks to them. It's just, but in terms of watching the strategy on a PK, it's kind of tough. I think sometimes penalty kill is instinctual, and I think you're going to see a lot of dudes get the opportunity to play on that penalty kill this season. Even skilled guys like Marner's always been on it, and you might see somebody else get a chance too. But it's just good. We'll see what the numbers are at the end of the year, but it's just good instinctual hockey and the goaltender not giving up rebounds.
All right. last thing with the Leafs here before we predict their end of the season point total. Goaltending. Ideally, today's NHL, it's very rare that you have a guy who's starts 60 plus games for you. So are we looking at like an even split for Wall and Stolarz? Wall at some point is going to get hurt. So I could potentially see Stolarz playing more games this year than Wall. At some point, like I said in our last episode, there's going to be a goalie controversy. People are going to be saying, give Stolarz the net. Let Wall roll with it, whatever.
Yeah.
If you could get these guys in an ideal split tandem situation where you can trust both of them, that's the best you can hope for. Obviously, I mean, I don't think either one of these guys is going to be in a Vezina conversation at the end of the year. I don't think that's realistic. That's a realistic thing to predict. But to have both these guys split the load, to have them both playing reasonably well, to have it, I would just love to get to a point where you aren't in a place where we've been at the last few years with like Samsonov last year, where it's just like every time the team comes over your blue line, the opposing team comes over your blue line, you're just like, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen here? So ideally, both these guys split these games. They both post decent save percentages, and you're just in a place where no matter who's starting at night, you're feeling good about it.
Yeah, like we don't have Igor Shesterkin here. Like I mean, it's exciting when a Stolarz comes in here and like shows some promise, and you're like, maybe somehow this guy could become like a franchise goalie or something. But you can't really put those expectations on him. I think ideally they play 41 and 41, and
exactly.
I mean, everyone keeps saying how the game Stolarz was in last season, he was technically the best goalie in the league in terms of, I mean, there's a minimum game statistic that he had to hit, but his save percentage and goals against were tops in the league when he was in the net, but he was also playing in front of the best hockey team I've ever seen in my life. So that's something to be said about that. But I mean, with Joe Wall's health and not really knowing what Stolarz is going to give you, I think ideally it's split pretty 50-50. Joe Wall with his health cannot play more than 50 games in the NHL right now. So,
which is why you really got to, as an organization, you really got to keep an eye on him, and you got to check in with him all the time. Like, how you feeling? You good? You need a couple games off? You got to get the most out of this guy.
Even the preseason when he's going post to post, making a save, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Samsonov where it's like he was in one of those streaks where anytime a clean shot was on the net, you're like, oh my God, it's just going top corner. But anytime he goes post to post now, I'm wincing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just one of those guys, man. He's just one of those guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So last year, Leafs finished third place in the Atlantic Division with 102 points. You thinking they're coming in at that same range this year?
Yeah. Well, I did my research, and they got 102. Last year, the year before, they had 111 when they came second. Year before that, they came second with 115. I'm looking at, I think they should have a better year than last year, but they're going to be in between that 100 and 110 range. I feel like that's fair. I don't know if that's going to win them the division, but I also don't think they are going to win the division. So
Panthers won the division last year with 110. So
yeah, so I think if Ottawa gets better, if Detroit gets better, if like the Leafs always get played tough against Buffalo, even though Buffalo is not a good team, like the Leafs can lose games to anybody in their division. We see the Leafs absolutely dominate Western Conference teams for some reason. I don't know why that was, but in terms of their own division, like they can go and play the Red Wings or Sabres on any given night and lay an egg.
Ryan, I think these teams, like the lower half of the division, I think they're all going to have better seasons, but I don't think any of them, aside from Allmark just being a legend and carrying the Senators, I don't see any of these teams supplanting the top four teams. I just don't think any of them are good enough. And I think basically my prediction for the Atlantic is I see the Florida Panthers probably winning the division again, barring some sort of Stanley Cup hangover, which I don't think is going to happen. I think their talent is just too good.
I've also lost like a couple pieces on the back end too. Like losing Montour is like the guy is an extremely talented hockey player. So
I see the Panthers and the Bruins. Now that the Bruins have Swayman done, I see the Panthers and the Bruins at the top of the division again, doing what they've done the last 2 years, fighting it out for the top of the division. And then I think the Leafs are and Lightning are kind of a roll of the dice. It's like, what are the Lightning going to be? They've had some changeover. Are they better? If Andrei Vasilevsky returns to form like he was when they went to their 3 Cup finals, then there's no debate that the Lightning I think the Lightning could potentially finish ahead of the Leafs in the standings.
Yeah. Dude, they made it to the playoffs last year, and Vasilevsky missed how many games did he miss at the start of the season? Like a
lot.
So,
a lot.
Yeah, I'm not banking on that team not being good. Like, it's just too hard. Nikita Kucherov is arguably the second best player in the NHL. So it's like, I think still got a lot of talent there. Just losing Stammer, like they got Ryan McDonough back. Like they're going to be just fine.
I think the Leafs are good enough to win the division, but I think if you told me to put money on it, I would say I'm going to side with you and go, I think they finish third in the division. And I think they make the playoffs, and it could either be as the 3 seed in the Atlantic or potentially as a wild card team, because I just think the other 3 teams they're all good.
They all know how to win. Like they all
know how to
before,
win. Yeah,
like I know the Bruins haven't won a cup in a while, but like they're the Bruins, man. Like this is what they do. They just show up and they just play incredible hockey. They're well coached. They're hard to play against. Like it's just like trying to bet against those 3 teams is extremely difficult.
100%. 100%. All right, let's do just a quick around the league here and just predict our division winners for the other divisions. Let's stay in the Eastern Conference. Last year, the New York Rangers win the Metropolitan with 114 points. I look at this again this year, and I look at the other teams in this division, and I could see the Sheldon Keefe and the New Jersey Devils taking a step and being in that conversation this year, especially since they've improved their goaltending. But realistically, I think this is the Rangers division again.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Devils are easily the wild card in that division in terms of not to be in a wild card spot, but to just knock out, like the Capitals just snuck in. I think the Devils were riddled with injuries last season and they had no goaltending. I see them sneaking up right into the second position, maybe even first. You never know, because the year before they were incredible.
Yes.
And so I don't know, but the Rangers are kind of a badass hockey team.
100%.
And they've kind of evolved into a really fun, exciting team to watch, and they got a hell of a 10D back there to make saves for them.
It's like you look at the teams in this division, the Blue Jackets are going to be one of the worst teams in hockey again. You look at like the Flyers, Penguins, and Capitals, I all see being kind of the same as last year, like middling teams in this division, middling teams in the Eastern Conference. I have no fucking idea what to expect from the New York Islanders. No fucking idea.
No, they're a team that kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like, no like players that stand out, good goalie. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, man. They're just kind of like, anytime I see the Islanders on TV, I'm just kind of like,
and then Carolina, man. It's like Carolina's a good hockey team,
man.
Yeah, they're a good hockey team. They're extremely well coached. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs. But
they have Leaf problems, except they actually make it further than the Leafs. But they're kind of at an impasse where it's like I feel like they could snooze through the regular season because they're just that well coached. They have a ton of solid hockey players who obviously can play a system. And every time you see the Leafs play them, they talk about the hardest working hockey team you've ever seen in your life. So, but they also have some goaltending issues too. Like they've never really had a guy back there who's a solid dude. They always kind of rotate guys in and out of that number one goalie position.
You're right. They've got the Leaf thing going where I'm sure their fans on the Talkin' Buds Kane show are like, wake me up in April.
Yeah, exactly. They could see what happens through the regular season. I think they're going to be just fine. I could see just the Capitals exiting, Devils moving up, and kind of the same 4 with the Islanders. I don't see the Flyers getting any better. Maybe, I don't know, but they have some Sens vibes too, like where it's like they need to take a step, but I don't know if they're capable of doing it.
Let's move over to the Western Conference, the Central Division. In my opinion, the hardest division to predict. You've got the Dallas Stars won this division last year with 113 points. I just look at some of the teams here. Colorado, solid. Nashville, I think we expect to be in that conversation again this year. Sleeper. Yeah. Potential sleeper. You've got the debut of the Utah Hockey Club in this division, who I don't think they're going to win the division, but that's still a nice story. Yeah. Blackhawks, again, going to be one of the Blackhawks are going to be in the conversation for a top draft choice again next year. They're still in a rebuild.
Yeah.
I see Dallas once again at the top of this division. And then I see Colorado and Nashville there as well. And then I have no clue what's going to happen with the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah. Like the Jets had some guys move out this year. They still have Connor Hellebuck, who's one of the best goalies in the world. It's like Hellebuck on his own could get them into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
again, another team with a Leaf problem.
Exactly.
I feel like these top 4 teams in this division, they're going to be the exact same 4 teams that are like, you look at the teams below them, Blues, Wild, Utah, and Chicago. None of them are going to get any better. It's going to be just a fight between those 4 teams to see who gets the top 3 spots. Colorado could easily win the division. Nashville, I don't know I think Dallas or Colorado could win the division. The Predators are better. The Jets are still a good enough team, still good enough goaltending. I see those 4 teams still being the top 4 teams in that division.
You look at the 3 divisions we've talked about so far, like the Atlantic, okay? Let's look at the top teams in the Atlantic. Bobrovsky, Swayman, Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Leafs were in the top 3, but for the sake of the point I'm trying to make, let's remove the Leafs and throw Tampa, Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
You look at the other division, Shesterkin at the top of that division.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the top of the Central, Jake Ottinger.
Yeah.
Like this is all the teams with the best goalies are at the top of these divisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not a coincidence.
No, definitely not. Yes, there's some Eastern, like even the Metro, like you have Markstrom with the Devils, you have Sorokin with the Islanders, like that. Those are 3 pretty top tier goalies, and then the Canes kind of fit in where the Leafs do, where they kind of run with a tandem and whoever's playing best. But yeah, you're right. There's like 6 teams in the East that have a bona fide number 1 goaltender.
Yeah, 100%. All right, moving over, last division, the Pacific. The Vancouver Canucks win it last year with 109 points. This is interesting because I think a lot of people are ready to crown the Oilers as the winner of the Pacific. The Oilers are funny. They made it all the way to the Cup final last year, and yet they've made a ton of additions in the offseason that I think has made their team even better. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be in the conversation to win the division. Stu Skinner is still a bit sus for me.
He's a Team Canada goaltender, though, buddy.
He's still a bit sus for me. Then you've got the Demko situation in Vancouver where it's like, what is going on with him? Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? You got 2 teams. This is not related to anything, but you got 2 teams in this division that had the 2 best uni glow ups I've ever seen with the LA Kings and the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah. I don't know about the Ducks one. I'm the jury.
Oh, I love it. I love the Ducks one. The Ducks one is GOAT. It's GOAT. Yeah. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, the Kings look nice, even though sometimes that silver helmet kind of gives me the ick a little bit. But this is the hardest. This division is like
both Connor Western divisions, man. Both Western divisions are tough.
Yeah, but I feel like the Central, it's like those top 4 teams in the Central are damn good hockey teams, man. Like they're all good in different ways, but to me, the Pacific Division has been the weakest division for a couple of years now. And I don't know if I could base that off statistics, but I don't see the Vancouver Canucks winning the division again.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to say, I see the Vancouver Canucks potentially taking a step back this year. I think last year, everything lined up for them. I thought Rick Tocchet got the most out of them he possibly could. You look at the questions they have in net heading into this season. I'm right there with you on the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not saying the Canucks aren't going to make the playoffs, but do I think they're going to have this dream season like they had last year? No, I do not.
No, I don't. And also, if you take away Edmonton's absolute disaster at the start of the season, if you eliminate that and they're 500, like they got the same amount of points as the Canucks at the top of the division. So, like, I just think the Oilers, I think McDavid and Draisaitl are just heads and above the best like elite duo in the league. Like these guys could literally win this division on their own. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what like Stu Skinner got to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, man, and he played damn good hockey. Like and people are now penciling like at the beginning of last year, people were saying Stu Skinner was awful. Like brutal.
Yes.
Like couldn't be a number one guy. And even they didn't have their goalie. And then all of a sudden he goes on one playoff run. And now he's penciled in as the top guy of the Canadian roster. Like it's like he literally went from bottom to top in one single year. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does in the regular season. But yeah, in terms of the top 4 teams, like Vegas is again, like I have a hard time seeing Flames, Seattle, Ducks and Sharks are going to be brutal. Like the Flames are on their way to a full-blown rebuild. So unless the Kraken can make magic like they did a couple of years ago when they made the playoffs, it's going to be hard to see these 4 teams exit the top of the division too. It's almost like a theme throughout the league. It's there's only 1 or 2 teams throughout the whole league that I could see maybe taking a step, but there's a lot of teams that I think it's going to be more of the same in terms of where they finish in the standings.
What do you think about Ilya Samsonov starting a net for the? Well, he's not. He's the backup to Aiden Hill, but
okay, let's not shit talk Ilya Samsonov. Okay, I'm not in on shit talking Ilya Samsonov. I think
he did what no other Leaf goalie's done in years.
Exactly. Like he came in here, Washington did not want him, and I thought all he did was play to the best of his ability for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think he played good enough goalie to win series for them. Like they could have won Game 7. Like like they lost that game 2-1. Like I have nothing bad to say about Ilya Samsonov at all. I think it was time to move on, but I honestly wish nothing but the best for that guy.
So to be clear, you're picking the Oilers to win the Pacific Division.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Draisaitl and McDavid are just like we could talk about how good Matthews, Marner, and Nylander are, but these 2 guys together are just a fucking force to be reckoned with. They are 2 elite hockey players.
I'm with you in that. Like it's the same 4 teams at the top of this division for me. The order might be jumbled around, but it's the same. It's the same. 4
the
teams
2 worst teams in the league are in that division. Like,
yes,
the Ducks and Sharks are terrible. I guess the Hawks finished worse than the Ducks, but still, like there are 2 terrible teams, man.
It's also going to be a tough year to be a Calgary Flames fan, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're tough. Full blown. We got to figure this out.
Yeah, they're in the. Man. If you're a Flames fan, they're kind of like they're good enough to not be in last, but they're not good enough to make the playoffs. Like at some point, Craig Conroy is going to have to just hit that old eject button and reset.
Yeah, they got some Toronto Raptors vibes. It's like, I don't know what you're looking forward to. Like, like they don't really have any young players you're excited about. Like, they're in tough.
All right, buddy. Pretty good season preview. We're going to get out of here now. We're going to be back on Thursday night after the Leafs Devils. And then that's it. We're into our regular season once a week, twice a week. We'll see what happens. We're going to go with the flow. We're going to do what we always do. Yep. When it's time to get on and make a statement, that's exactly what we're going to do. So if you want to come on this journey with us this regular season, hit that like and subscribe button below. Thanks so much to everybody every week for all the comments. You were going to say spread the word.
Every time you say hit the I always think you're throwing to me as soon as you talk about subscribing.
I like to keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
We appreciate everyone's comments and engagement. Honestly, we had some really nice feedback in the comments last week. Really, we had some people point out that I made a spelling error in the thumbnail, which is like,
my mic is on.
Your mic is on.
Anyone who's
properly.
A stickler for production, my microphone is I'm actually talking into it and not using my laptop microphone.
Right. All right. Well, now you can say it, Ryan.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys on Thursday night after Leafs Devils.